Hey YouTube, Old Man Said This is back, and again this week we are going to be checking out another brand new game and giving it a review. This week we will be checking out a brand new early access title called Thronefall. Now, in this game you take control of a king who is trying to build up their kingdom and face off against hordes of enemies night after night after night. The game is very simple, it's very fun, but it actually can lend itself to being pretty damn deep. As you kick off the game, you start off with a tutorial that's going to kind of give you the basics about how to approach the game as you get a little bit further in. The tutorial is going to give you the basics of combat, how to build up your kingdom, what decisions you're going to have to make after you complete these different nights and start to expand, and give you the general gist of what you can expect as you progress through the different areas that are currently available. After you get to the starting area and you build your keep, you're going to face your first night of enemies. Now, this one's going to be pretty simple, and afterwards, it's going to start showing you exactly what you can build with the money that you've earned from killing the enemies that have been trying to siege your castle. As you progress through the nights, you'll also have other buildings that are available as well. Defensive buildings to help you stave off the enemies. You'll be able to build up troop buildings that are going to allow you to actually take control of troops, and you can place them on the map strategically, or you can keep them with you the whole time. It's definitely a game that lends itself towards some decision making and learning as you progress through these different waves. Now, the great thing about this game, in my opinion, is that you do have all of these different options and different ways to approach it. Whenever you upgrade your keep, you're also going to be able to give your kingdom an upgrade, or just your king as he strides out into the world and tries to take on the baddies with his loyal troops. Now, as you do upgrade the keep, you're going to notice that there are going to be additional expansion spots for all the other buildings that you may want to build as you progress. So after this quick tutorial, you're going to be diving into the meat of the game. Now, this is where all the decision making really becomes super important as you progress. In the tutorial, you're kind of spoon-fed everything, but again, the game really excels when you start getting out into the different areas that you need to protect and start to conquer for your king. So the super cool thing at the end of any one of these given scenarios is that you earn meta progress. Now, this is another one of the things that I really enjoy about the game and feels like it's going to give it a lot of replayability. The different meta progresses are things that either improve your king weapon-wise, like you'll have the choice of a sword or a spear or a bow at one point. You'll be able to select different options for the kingdom that you're building. You can make your defensive structure shoot farther and harder. You can actually make your keep itself produce money as you continue to expand it. You can get on a war horse so that when you're riding around with your king, you can stomp all over the enemies that are trying to seize your lovely kingdom. You'll also have the option of making these scenarios harder. Each one of the scenarios can be replayed as many times as you'd like, and you can choose to make the enemies faster. You can choose to make the enemies more hardy, have a lot more hit points. And again, this is one of the things I really enjoy about the game because it's going to offer you so many different ways to play it. So as you get into these first new, larger scenarios, one of the great things is that you're going to always have this building first. We're building our castle, and then we're going to go out and we're going to smash the first night of enemies. And then from there is where the game really starts to expand. And again, this is one of the things that I love about it. It's so well done and it's so simple, but it also can again get so deep because you are offered so many different ways to approach it. What's really neat is the first time you go into any one of these scenarios, it's really going to test your mettle depending on how hard or how easy you may have made it for yourself. It's really cool that you can focus on economy really hard and really try to build up enough money so that you can expand your kingdom and get a lot of new buildings out. But you also need to watch it because if you go too hard into one area, you may end up screwing yourself in the long run. If you go too hard into economy and you don't have enough defenses, maybe you get overrun one night because if the enemies hit your castle and they blow it up, that's the end of the run. That's all you get. And then you're going to have to restart and you're going to have to rethink exactly how to approach it. Sometimes it kind of depends on how well you control your king as well. Your king can be a very valuable asset, and since you have full control over them during the evening when you're actually being attacked, if you know how to kite an enemy, if you know how to dance around them, and you know how to draw aggro from your different buildings, you can actually get pretty far with very little to help when it comes to surviving these nights. So if you do end up blowing a run, it's no big deal. You're going to see the defeat screen. You're going to be able to earn some more meta progress maybe. And then you can go back to the drawing board and kind of rethink, maybe I should have done this better, or maybe I should have done that better. Maybe I need to pick a new perk, and we can go into the next scenario with, a little bit more knowledge about what's to come. Again, one of the super cool things about this game is just the multitude of ways that you can approach it. You can go into the scenario wielding the different weapons for the king, or you can focus on different buildings, or you can just generally have a different strategy each time because the game is going to afford you the option to focus on different things based on what you know from previous runs. And when I say that, you're going to be able to know after, the third night that you're fighting some of these enemies, you know what to expect, so you kind of know that you need to start going that way, but there might be a few different ways to do that. The trial and error part of this game is enormous, and I think that's one of the really cool draws about it. It's such a fascinating and cool thing when you can sit down on a game like this and you can play what is essentially the same scenario every time with very little difference unless you're picking one of the mutators. And you can really just get out there and start thinking outside of the box. Like, of course, there's always going to be one tried and true way to make it happen, but challenging yourself and being able to use all the different tools that the game gives you to get through any one of these scenarios is, again, one of the coolest things about it. Whatever the case, progression through the game is always going to be a delicate balance of keeping your economy flourishing and make sure that you're upgrading the buildings that you need to upgrade, whether it is your economy buildings or your defense buildings. You also need to know when to make your barracks. You need to know when to have more troops out there as well, because as you progress through each one of these scenarios, you are going to see more and more enemies show up, and the king and the defensive buildings aren't always going to be the ones that are going to be able to manage it. So knowing that you need to get all of these different buildings up and finding that delicate balance the whole time, again, is one of the coolest things about this game, and it's done so simply. It's basically just the classic rock, paper, scissors system, right? This one's just quick and simple, and I think that's, again, one of the things that is so alluring about it to me. Choosing the upgrades that you decide to institute are also very important as well. Knowing whether or not this round I should probably have more troops coming out of my barracks, or maybe it would be better to gamble on having a little bit more economy by upgrading some of my economic buildings. Do I actually upgrade the different towers that are around as well? Because as you upgrade them, they can get their own unique, takes on what they can do as well. And some of them are going to benefit you more than others in certain instances. Getting through more and more of all these scenarios means that you're going to be upgrading your keep to a maximum of level 3. As you continue to upgrade the keep, you're going to see this kingdom expand, and you're going to see that you're going to have more to defend, but you're also going to get more options to defend it with. Not only are you going to get more towers, but you're also going to get more troops, you're going to get more walls, you're going to get, again, more options to fend off the attacks night after night. But since you get to see where the attacks are coming from, you might be able to focus on one area over another because it just is more strategically sound in the moment. Strategy and forethought in any one of these scenarios is going to be super important, and it's definitely going to challenge you, again, depending on what perks you brought in for your kingdom, what your king's upgrades look like, and how you've built your kingdom up until any given point. The mutators that you've selected will also have a pretty big effect on what your strategy is, because if you know there's a bunch of fast enemies, you might want to have spearmen, for example, out of your barracks to help slow them down. Ultimately, you get to a final night where a huge challenge awaits you. In the first area, you're going to have to face wave after wave of enemies that comprise of giants, of catapults, of archers, of knights, and all assorted array of things that are going to come after your kingdom, and you need to make sure that you have prepared adequately up into this point, because it is going to be one hell of a ride. The enemies are literally throwing everything into the kitchen sink at you when you get to the final evening. All of the planning and all the decisions that you've made up until this point are going to affect exactly what happens when this final attack comes. And I find it so cool that the game has given you so many different ways to approach it. Even in this last fight, you are going to have to be thinking on your feet. You're not going to just be able to sit back and let everything happen, because there's so much coming at you, and you may have to sacrifice. You could find your king fighting on one side of the battlefield, whereas things are just going completely sideways on the other side, but you know if you leave this spot, you're going to leave a gaping hole in the defense, and they may actually get up to your kingdom and start wrecking it. So thinking, again, tactically on your feet when it comes to the actual action part of the game is another thing that they've done really well. So once again, as you get through this night, win or lose, you're going to see a final screen. You're going to either achieve total victory, or you're going to achieve complete and utter defeat. So once you see this victory or defeat screen, you are going to see how much meta progress you made, how many points you earned, and you'll be able to kind of decide, well, you know what, I did great, or, well, maybe it's time to go back to the drawing board and figure out what I can do better next time. It's so cool that as you get through these different areas, and whether or not you win or lose, you get these meta progress, things that can actually make the game a different experience. As I said, I really enjoy the fact that this game is giving you a lot, and since it's in early access, it's a game that we know is going to only improve from its current state, at least in my opinion. And being able to use these different meta unlocks as you go through the next few areas, I just think that this game is a lot of fun. The great thing about seeing the meta progress on the victory or defeat screens is that you know you can go back to previous areas after you've unlocked some of this stuff and maybe jack up the difficulty. Again, this is one of the things that definitely gives the game a lot more replayability, and it lends itself to being a good investment for what you're getting out of it. Also, make sure that if you are keeping track of scores and you have friends on Steam, definitely get your high score out there and get bragging rights on them, because it's always fun to see that you can actually, lord something over some of your friends. All in all, Thronefall is a fantastic game that I am very happy that I gave a kick to this last weekend. It's going to definitely give you a lot of entertainment value for your dollar. Right now, it is in early access. As I stated, it's only $8 American. And I know for a fact that this game is going to eclipse the golden standard of 1 hour of entertainment for $1 spent. I've already played the game for 10 hours, and I've played it for more than just my stream. I've actually sit back, a couple nights in, decided to mess around with it because it's just fun to think about the different ways you can approach these scenarios and unlocking the different toys that you can use as you make more progress in the game. I sincerely think as they continue to develop the game, give it more areas, give you more options, and introduce more enemies, this game's going to really take on a life of its own for something fun and simple for people to sit down, have a good time with for a while, and then set aside. I can't necessarily say this is going to be a game you're going to sit down and play for hours on end, but you will be able to sit down and enjoy yourself for 30 to 40 minutes at a time as you try and work out the different puzzles they're giving you from each one of these different areas. Ultimately, if you're out there and you've played this one, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. And if you have any questions, please fire away. I hope you guys all enjoyed my presentation of Thronefall. Once again, I can't recommend this game enough. If you're looking for a really fun one that you can just mess around with from time to time, this one has definitely got your best interests at heart. From what I've seen as well, once you get into the other areas, you not only just fight waves of monsters, you actually fight giant kaiju. Now, I don't know how that one's going to look, but I think that could be a lot of fun for a future video or just playing. I can't wait to actually get to it. Whatever the case may be, I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. It was great to have everyone out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and give this game a look. Once again, for $8 American, it's not a bad investment at all. Definitely see you on the next one, everyone, and have a great day.